record on this computer. Hello, everyone. My name is Leroy Hill. I work at Southern California Seminary and in our admissions office. And I want to introduce you to a very special person here today. And his name is David Brown. I want to kind of introduce you to some of David's accomplishments so you have an idea of why we're talking to him. David began competing on the world stage as a runner, as a Paralympian runner in 2012. Since then, he's won 4 gold medals, 2 silver medals, and a bronze medal in the World Championships in places like Doha, London, and Lyon, and even in the Paralympian Games in Toronto and Lima. In 2016, though, he won the gold medal at the Paralympic Games, and he's the fastest totally blind athlete in the world, and he holds the world records in 100 meters, winning the gold medal with his sighted guide, Jerome Avery. Now, before this interview started, I was telling David that I was a high school coach, and actually was a track coach too. I don't want to say anything about that. I coached the shot put, but as I was looking at his accomplishments, I was totally geeking out. I was totally like, this is really that guy. I mean, when you think about world-class athletes, I mean, David is really that guy. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because it's true. This guy has done it all. Now, David, you've run in the 100, the 200, and the 400 meters. And each of those events take a different skill set. How do you prepare to do that?
Honestly, it starts with a mindset, not just a skill set. It does take a mindset. Mm-hmm. And the 400 in itself, it's a beast, and you train for the 400 and down, and the training for that is super hard. I was competing in that race for a while, and I was trying to pretty much establish a base, for the 100 meters, because if you strong enough to run a 400, your 100 meters just feel easy, just like that. So it's very difficult, and it takes a lot of training, a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of distances too, running as far as 600 meters. So yeah, very painful.
That is, I used to watch the runners when I would go to the track and field events, and all of them were fast. I mean, I've never been fast a day in my life, but it takes a lot of strength to run those events, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes a lot of strength. There's a lot of technique, especially with what we do. The shorter the race, the more technical you have to get. And then, of course, the longer the race, the more efficient almost. With what I do, I run with a guide runner, and we're running like a 3-legged race. So we're tethered together, by our fingers. And that makes it even harder because now we have to have everything in sync. If you look at some of our races, of course, we're in the blocks together. So from the blocks all the way to the end of the finish line, we have to be synchronizing our steps all the way around the track.
What I noticed, I watched some of your videos, and what I noticed is that you have a tremendous amount of joy when you run. I mean, you're not just trying to win an event. It doesn't seem like to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
me personally, like
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, me personally, yeah, like I do enjoy running. It gives me a sense of freedom. I started running when I was 6 years old, when my vision started decreasing in my right eye. So 15 months old, I came down with Kawasaki's disease. It gave me glaucoma. And when I was 3 years old, I lost my left eye due to eye surgeries. And my right eye, my vision started decreasing in it. So instead of playing basketball and football and stuff like that, I couldn't really play those sports anymore. So I started running, and I gained like a sense of freedom and just joy from that. And as I got older, and continued to run, my joy, it became even deeper. My slogan is running for his glory. So everything I do is for the glory of God. Running, that is one thing, but at the end of the day, the core truth of the whole, way of life, I don't even call it just a slogan. My whole core truth is for his glory, and that's what I do. It all is for the glory of God. So when I'm out there, and I'm running, my joy is, representing God. And of course, on this stage, I'm able to represent my country at the same time. I'm not able to, be in the military because of my sight. So this is another way for me to be able to go to war and, put the country on my chest, and then of course represent my family at the same time.
That's pretty awesome. Now, here's a question. You wrote an essay, I think when you were around 13 or 14 years old, right around there?
Yeah, 15 actually.
15, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You were around 15 years old when you wrote that essay to go to the
Yeah.
Beijing Games. What was in that essay?
Yeah, so a little background on that. So my coach at that time, he came up to me and was like, hey, there's an opportunity for you to go witness the Beijing Games live. All you have to do is write an essay on how has sport impacted your life. And so I wrote my essay, and they were taking 25 emerging athletes, selecting them from those essays and stuff like that to be able to go to Beijing, China. And I was one of the 25. I submitted my application, or my essay, shall I say, on January the 6th, because we found the essay actually quite recently. January the 6th, I submitted my essay. I got the call on April the 27th. And yeah, I was able to go and witness the Beijing Games live. And that's pretty much when my dream of becoming a Paralympian started. Actually seeing those games, I'm like, hey, I can do this. Mm-hmm. So that's when it all began for me.
But what's really interesting to me is it's like 4 years later, like you're running in the Olympics. 4 years later, you're running in the Olympics.
Honestly, I have to say that I was nothing but by the grace of God. I had no idea how I was going to get there. I just knew I wanted to get there. 2010 came around, and I was doing my own kind of training and stuff. I was still in high school. 2010 came around. My coach approached me and 3 other athletes, at my school. I was attending the Missouri School for the Blind. And I called, us 4, the core 4, because we were the core 4 athletes that did all the sports at the school. So we were like the jocks, you know what I'm saying? So he approached us and he was like, hey, there's an opportunity for you guys to run on a relay with the U.S. Paralympic team in Pennsylvania. And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah. But the thing is, you guys, you're going to have to miss, your guys' conference. It was at the same time as swim conference. And so I told him, I'm like, you know what? Let me take some time real quick. He was like, well, let me know soon because, of course, I got to get back to the person that sent the invitation to you guys. So I went back, prayed about it, and I decided to go and run at the Penn Relays. And from then, that was when things started changing because I ran there. The director of U.S. Paralympics at that time, she saw how I ran and she started bringing me into different development camps. And so I was flying out here to California quite frequently, actually, from Missouri. And I was doing different meets and stuff out here. And I did meets in Missouri as well. So I got different times down. When I graduated, they ended up inviting me to live and train out here at the Chula Vista Elite Athlete Training Center. And the rest is history from there. I linked up with my coach, who is still my coach now. And I was like, you know what? I'm out here. My goal has always been to go to London. So here I have the resources now. I have everything available to me. I got to take advantage of this. And so I threw myself into training as much as I could in the little time that I had, because like I said, by the grace of God, I made it because May the 6th, I moved out here. May 6th, 2012, I moved here. Mm-hmm. My trials for London was June 29th of 2012. So 6 weeks, pretty much. And for somebody to go from ground zero, and that's where I was, I had no kind of training under my belt. I was a fresh kid, like fresh. 6 weeks to get someone in shape and to even make the team, that's unheard of. Mm-hmm. So, but somehow, like I said, the drive, the determination, and God's will, God's will, I made it. And I was in London 5 months later.
And that's just like the beginning of of your story. And what's
Mm-hmm.
amazing to me is, when people go through the things that you've gone through and experience the things that you've experienced, the tendency can creep in to feel sorry, for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But
Yeah.
you seem to have said, I'm going to embrace this and do something with it.
Yeah, that's one thing though. It wasn't until I actually embraced it and said, let me do something with it. That's when things started changing, because for a while I was living in denial about my own blindness. It's very frightening. I mean, just imagine minute you can see, then the next minute you can't.
Mhm.
And I grew up in an environment, I could say, that surrounded me with, I'm trying to choose my words, rightly here. They surrounded me with faith sayings in the sense of just, oh, Dave, just believe it. Your sight can come back. Your sight will come back. So of course I was living on that for a while myself, almost denying and just by faith. And I say that with air quotes, trying to receive my sight again, but it wasn't until I actually, like I said, embraced it and said, this is something I'm just going to have to live with.
Mhm.
And the more that I try to fight it, the worse off it's going to get. So let's see where this goes. And that actually, I embraced it more in 2011. And that's when I made a team to go to Guadalajara, Mexico.
Mhm.
And that was my first international competition. And being, like I said, on these stages is like, you know what, I can see what I can potentially do. I have to, embrace this, and I got to figure out how can I adapt, because if I don't adapt and I still try to run like I can see, then I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to be competitive like I want to be. I'm not going to reach my goals. So of course, trusting God first and foremost fully with it, I'm like, you know what, let's just go. Let's just embrace this, and no matter what happens, it's going to happen, and let's just utilize what I have now, and that's limited sight. But there's no limited vision in what I have,
Mhm.
and that's in the sense of what I can see and where I'm going to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about your mom, Francine. How did she kind of inspire you? Because you list her as one of your inspirations.
Yeah, my mom, she was always someone who supported me in every kind of athletic endeavor that I've done. Of course, you have those fear tendencies that a lot of parents have when they have a kid with a disability they can't really see. They try to protect them, and my mom, she did that for years. And my grandmother, actually helped my mom snap out of a lot of that, allow me to be able to explore for myself, to be able to get around and figure out my surroundings. My grandmother, she passed away in 2001 when I was 9 years old. But, up until then, I started losing my right eye when I was 6. So 3 years, my grandma was helping. And prior to that as well.
That's pretty.
And my mom, she was, like I said, just a very strong person in the sense of just like, I guess, helping me figure out how to navigate certain things. But mom, she's this is why I'm laughing. And when I say navigate certain things, because of course she didn't move like major things like furniture and stuff, but she will move my water bottle, she will move my shoes, she'll move my cane, my backpack and stuff. So when I go back to try to look for where I put it, it's moved somewhere. So that required me to have to now I got to walk around, look at where did she put it, what I'm saying? And then after like 10 minutes of searching, mama, where'd you put this at?
So, but running isn't your only talent. Your other talent is being a musician. And from what I understand, you were in a jazz band.
Mm-hmm. So I started playing instruments when I was attending the Missouri School for the Blind. I learned how to play the drums. I played the piano since I was 6 years old. I learned how to play the sax too, and the saxophone. I love the saxophone.
Mhm.
And I also learned how to play the bass guitar. to this day, I play the piano as well as the drums for my church, Mercy and Grace in National City. So I play the drums now mostly, and I miss playing the saxophone. But yeah, I played jazz band for a number of years through school, and that was pretty fun.
So, and this, I'm going to move into our last few questions for you because I don't want to keep too much for your time. Your motto is running for his glory. How did you develop that?
So that was just something that came out of nowhere. Honestly, I was just at home making a sandwich, and I was rapping a song called "It's Not About Me" by a Christian artist, and I was just like, yeah, it's not about me. I'm running for his glory. I'm like, hey, that rhymed. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That actually goes too. So I kind of thought about it, switch some stuff up as far as like capitalization. And then of course I put the number there instead of the FOR because I'm like, no, everybody tries to use that. I want it to be unique. And so, of course, like I said, at the end of the day, I ran with it, no pun intended. And it just became a way of life. I was like, hey, this isn't just something I do, this is who I am. I am doing this all for God's glory. This is all for the glory of God, on the track as well as off the track, so it became something more than just my slogan.
Yeah, it's apparent to me that this is more than just you wanting to do something. There's an internal drive there. Now, you're also a seminary student at Southern California Seminary. And how is that drive that you have on the track, does that transfer into how you work at school?
It does, actually. The drive to succeed and track also translates over to driving to succeed within the the workplace and stuff like that. There's many different talks I've given to a lot of corporations, and I help them seeing the similarities in that sense. Me personally, I remember talking to you when I was, applying. I was asking the question. I'm like, hey, is this place going to be accessible? As far as like books and navigating the the populi and stuff like that. I didn't know how any of this was going to go, and of course, I feel this is just for any blind person. When we have these kind of like opportunities for schooling and stuff like that, it is a big fear factor, because of course you don't know how accessible everything is going to be. So the drive to wanting to succeed, even with these low resources, it makes it just that much more. But by the grace of God too, luckily, I got into everything, and the more like the deeper that I get, I'm almost my first year here.
Right.
At SoCal Sim, everything is seeming to be very accessible, and I'm finding a lot of the books that I need in e-form, and all the professors and stuff are very communicative and stuff like that, and very negotiable in that sense of just like there was one book where it was like he wanted a certain edition, and I'm like, well, there's this book in the e-form and it's a higher edition. Will this work? And he was like, I'll take a look at it. He looked at it and he was like, oh yeah, this will definitely work, and he switched, I guess, some stuff in Populi to where it will line up with the book that I had. So these kind of things, it helps even more. And like I said, it just helps fuel that determination to succeed at the same time.
Yeah, it is because I remember when you first came, one of the things we talk about with a student, no matter whether they're blind or seeing, is ability to benefit. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to make sure that, when you came to school, we could help you as much as we could to be successful. And as it turns out, we don't need to help you that much. You are just, I mean, if I email you, I get an email right back. If I call you, I get a phone call right back. I mean, it isn't all that difficult. You do very well. I wish I could brag about what kind of student you are, because you are a tremendous student, but
thank you.
I just think that, you try to excel at everything that you do. So
yes,
if you had something you would say to your classmates, what would you say to them?
I mean, I would say don't be afraid of the unknown. That's all I live with, honestly. I don't know exactly. I mean, I feel like something that we all live with as Christians. I mean, the Bible says don't be afraid about tomorrow, or don't worry about tomorrow, you know. But honestly, it's like me personally in my life, I don't know exactly what step I take the next day, or where my foot's going to land, because I can't see it. So don't be afraid of the unknown. 100%. I live my life with trust on a daily. Like, I just drove home with no, I wasn't driving, but I just rode home with my fiance who was driving. That's trust right there. So of course, so trust, first and foremost, all trust goes to God, and don't be afraid of taking a step forward and making those tough decisions and making those tough calls. There's a lot of decisions and I had to make in order to get to where I am, in the sense of just, okay, I had to make the decision to come here. I had to make the decision to run with the guide runner that I'm running with now and stuff like that. And all the decisions that were made, of course, you can look and you may not know at the time, but then of course you can look back and say, hey, that was all for the glory of God. So of course, don't be afraid to make decisions, and of course continuing to move forward and trust the process. That's one thing. A lot of people don't trust the process, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, just continue to move forward. I mean, progress is progress. It doesn't matter how little or huge it is. So just continue to move forward. And I thank everybody for praying for me and being here with me, and it's been cool.
Now, you're leaving on August 10th to go compete in Tokyo. Do you have a website, or
Yeah.
Not just a website, your social media, something that you can probably email me after this interview, so I can actually get your classmates and the school to kind of
So
I
do. I have social media. I have Instagram. I also have Twitter. I do have a website that people can email me off of as well. And what I'll also email you too is there has been just today a documentary, a short film that has been released of me as well. So I'll also send that to you so everybody can take a look at it.
What's your website?
It's IamDavidRBrown.com.
You are DavidRBrown.com.
Yeah, I am.
I know, I got you.
Yeah,
I
am DavidRBrown.com.
Now I want to tell you, when I was preparing for this interview, I'm never a guy that's been impressed with a lot of people. I don't know why that is, but I've gotten a chance to be like, around William Lane Craig, who was one of my intellectual heroes, and I was like speechless, right? I've gotten to be around some athletes, but in studying your life and just reading about you and some of the things that you've gone through and the inner drive that you have and the desire to serve God with it, I'm just like blown away just to chat with you. I'm seriously like amazed. I'm always amazed in the presence of people who love the Lord, who put the Lord first, and then who go out and do great things for His glory. And
appreciate it.
Fellow classmate of yours, I'm just excited that you are going to compete. And do you know when you're going to be on when the games are televised? And they tell you that at all?
So yeah, the games are actually starting coverage on August the 23rd. I'll be competing September the 1st and the 2nd.
All right. And we're going to try to paste some of those things to the extent we can on our social media. David, I just want to say, thank you for your time. Again, man, may God bless you. Go out there and run as best you can. And as your classmates in school, we're going to be rooting for you.